The Indian government is really worried about inflation. आप chronology समझिए. In May last year, the government banned wheat exports. In September 2022, the government banned broken rice exports, around 14% of overall rice exports, and then imposed 20% export tax on some other varieties. In October, India reduced customs duties on edible oil imports. So know that when you get samosas and chicken lollipops delivered to you, for that very often India ends up importing copious amounts of palm oil. This year, the government has been doing open market sales of rice and wheat, which basically means that the government is selling its own stock of grains, thereby increasing the supply in the market and bringing prices down. Recently, the government has also been selling tomatoes in the open market at subsidized prices. And now it has extended the ban on rice exports to non-basmati white rice. That's roughly 30% of total rice exports. So overall, 40% now stands banned. But why has the government been banning rice exports? Well, because rice inflation has been rising sharply. As of June, it's around 12% higher than it was last year. To give a sense of how high that is, overall consumer inflation is close to 5% higher. And look, it works both ways. India impacts global rice prices, and then global rice prices end up impacting India's domestic prices. How come? Well, India is the world's largest rice exporter, accounting for around 40% of total global trade. That's more than the next two top rice exporters combined, Thailand and Vietnam. So when India says no to rice exports, it creates global shortages and global prices start to rise. So countries like Iran, Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, a number of African countries who are some of the key importers of Indian rice, first, they get directly hit by the ban, but then all importing countries, regardless of whether they import from India or elsewhere, get hit by higher global prices. And how does the reverse work? How do higher global prices end up hitting India? Well, if India is exporting so much rice, then put yourself in the shoes of a trader who's exporting as well as selling to the domestic market. If you are seeing global prices rise, be it for something which India has done or be it for any other external factor, wouldn't you also want to raise prices domestically? So one reason is higher rice inflation. The second issue is that we are having a really weird monsoon season. It started late with the Biparjoy cyclone, and then after that it's been very uneven. The northwest has received huge rainfall, so we've seen crazy scenes of Delhi flooded and Yamuna overflowing. Central India also getting decent rainfall, but the south, east and northeast are seeing really deficient monsoons. So we did an episode of The Bond Economist on how the El Nino and monsoons end up impacting the economy. Please do check that out. So in some parts of the country, there has been so much flooding that newly planted paddy crops have been damaged. And in other parts, rains have been so less that farmers are having to delay sowing. So the government is worried. If rice production falls this year, and we also keep exporting rice, will we end up creating a perfect storm for domestic consumers? But the key question though is, will this rice export ban be enough to control rice prices domestically? After all, we did ban some categories and added export duties to others in September last year. Still, rice inflation has picked up. Look, we are still exporting basmati and parboiled rice, which is close to 60% of overall rice exports. So the question is, if India's ban leads to prices of all categories picking up globally, in turn, will it make basmati and parboiled rice more expensive domestically? And as a result, of course, overall rice inflation still remains elevated. Now, politically, all of these questions matter. The government faces general elections in 2024. As the recent Lokniti CSDS survey showed, unemployment, poverty and inflation, top worries for the Indian voter. In fact, we did another recent episode of The Bond Economist on how the spike in tomato prices impacts India's inflation and then what that means for the RBI and the government. So the government is clearly not taking any chances on inflation. For more such insights, like, share and subscribe to The Bond Economist.